All right, guys. So I did say the other day I wanted to help desensitize the whole rocker arm assembly for the K series because when you look at it, everything's sliding apart on you and shit. It looks like it can be a really complicated thing. So I want to try and put this in a more comprehensive type video because I think I put this information out a couple times. It's just been fucking scattered. All right, so like I understand when people get this and they kind of get nervous by it because the first time I received a K20 head that was all broken out into pieces, I just chucked it into a bin and was like, yeah, that's gonna be a loss on parts for me because I don't understand this shit. So, but of course, I had at the time that happened, I wasn't regularly working with K series. I hadn't really fucked with the heads too much, just the blocks at that time. So, of course, the more time goes by, I assemble some long blocks. Now I'm doing this VTEC killer shit a whole bunch, and even before then, I was already got the hang of it. It only took two full long block assemblies for me to be like, okay, this is really pretty fucking simple. All right, so when you take shit apart, and this is the thing that really throws people off, is these little springs and these bars are all because they're lubed up, so they're sliding out of place because one rocker is lifting and the other one doesn't. So it's like, oh my god, and then like here you see this, like oh right there, see, all I did was lift it up into place and it fucking ejaculated the spring, right? So now the spring and the head of the spring. They launch out and it's real easy to lose. So if you've ever done pistons, forged pistons rods with C-clips or whatnot, people don't like the C-clips and because they can spring out. It's a secret to everything. You just have to work with something well enough to develop a habit that'll get you around things being a problem. I am a big fan of the C-clips. I love doing the C-clips. I hate the circlips, the springs. The ones that are like wind up ones. I hate those. They're a pain in the ass to do. They take longer. The C-clips are a lot easier for me. I can get them out really quick, and I can get them in really quick. So the same thing with these springs and shits. They're not really that complicated, right? And okay, so we'll address that first. So there's on the fake VTEC there are two rockers, right? And you really can't fuck these up because there's only one way. There's only one way for these to go on. Actually, the other day when I was doing the RBB head, I was trying to line up the head, and it wouldn't go in place, right? Like the last little bit wouldn't of the cam cap holder wouldn't lock in. It's like what the fucking hell's going on? And I sat there for a minute, going what the fuck, And then I started taking a really close look at the rocker arm assembly, and I seen this. See with the RBB, the Type S with the lost, you have the third rocker because you got the lost motion assembly, right? So what had happened was, I guess when dudes took it apart, one of them slid off, and he just kind of slapped it back on without really trying to pay attention to what he was doing. And it was like this. It was the rocker arm was facing this way, and the one was facing this way. And you can see that's just not how it's supposed to be, right? You see how they're staggered out, or you can see it on the intake side here, right? How they are kind of like facing away from each other. See how they're pushed out in a Y shape. So because those were on like that, it wasn't locking in place. So the good thing is if you do fuck up and put these backwards, you'll notice because it won't lock in. Plus, also that too, you can see the bottom of the rocker arm sits on the valve. So if you got it lined up improperly, it's not going to sit the way it's supposed to. These are all things if you just take a second to look at, you'll discover. All right. So there's that. So this is the proper assembly for a fake iVTEC with the base models, and then insert the one in the middle for the lost motion assembly for the true iVTEC, right? Now the second thing would be the orientation of these pins, right? So these pins with the RBB and the Type S head will come in two different sizes, two different lengths. One's slightly shorter and one's really long. I think those are self-explanatory on which hole they go into. The smaller one goes to the smaller hole, the bigger one goes to the bigger hole. I don't remember off the top of my head which one it is. But like I said, pretty self-explanatory. So you slide this pin into yonder hole. And sorry, this is actually not that difficult. I'm just trying to make sure I keep everything in focus on the camera, right? So that goes there. And Then you'll get the, well, I guess you can put it all together as one piece. Sorry, see, this is what I'm talking about. I'm trying to work with my hands and be able to keep everything in focus at the same time. Not so easy. And that goes now. And you see, this is what's controlled by the oil pressure to lock the rockers in place, right? When the pressure goes up, I think is when these push forward more or whatnot. Or maybe it's the other way around. I don't fucking know how the mechanics of it work. I just know that's the fucking hole it goes into. Right? And I think another way to tell too is that the spring loaded one goes onto the rocker arm that has a hole in it. It's super simple with these on the fake VTEC ones because there's only one option as compared to the other one where it's two. But like I said, the whole thing is the same thing on the true VTEC heads. That's where the one with the spring goes. So yeah, real simple, right? Now, the last thing I will say is if you're taking these fucking apart because they can rocket off, the best thing you do is before you remove the head or before you remove the rocker arm assembly off of the head, just go ahead and keep your thumb in place where you can expect it to pop out at. And let me see one. I just still have one. No, I think I already took them all out. Yeah, I took them all out. You just keep your thumb where you know the spring is going to be. Slide it up slowly, and you'll feel it pop out, or you'll hear it pop out. And then once you got the tension off of it, you just raise it up and pull it out. So the best thing to do is when you're disassembling these, before you take anything apart, you just take your springs. You take your springs and your pins out, and once you have the rocker arm assembly back in place on top of the head, then you and it's like all pushed down into its notches. Then you put the pins back in. So you put the fat ones in first. Put these fat ones in first because they don't slide back out under pressure. And then you just load the spring one in, and you just kind of gotta guide it in, like when you're lowering it back in place. You just finger it on there, and it'll pop back on. Because like I said, these are all lubricated with oil, so it's not gonna fight you too hard. It's real simple, and that's really it to it. As far as I guess there's one more thing I could talk about. Like I said, I did talk about before in other ones, is that you see the bolt holes right here, right? Now, look at the rocker arm assembly. You can see that there's notches in the rocker arm assembly, right? Or the rocker arm tubes. And that's because these tubes have to be properly lined up for you to be able to slide the bolt past them. So, when you're picking this thing up and, you know, everything is swinging all over the place and you're going to be trying to wrestle these rocker arms to trying to get them to lay back down on top of the valve springs. And while you're doing all that, you know, everything kinks up, and then these it's pretty easy for these to move. So once you have everything back in place, you know, even if they've moved, a lot of times they won't move too much, so you can still stick a screwdriver in there, and then you just stick a screwdriver in place, and just kind of you stick the screwdriver where the head would be against wherever the direction it is, and you just kind of pop against it. But you want to do it not towards the bottom. You want to do it really close to where the top of the tube is, so that way when you're prying on it, it just kind of pops back in place. And then you just test fit it by sticking a bolt in. If the bolt, or let's say you put a bolt over here, and the bolt's standing tall, as soon as you line it up, the bolt's going to drop down because they're all, of course, all the notches are interconnected, so they're lined up so where they're all the bolt will drop back in place. There has been a couple times where I've had to wiggle up here and then go somewhere further down the tube and wiggle down there, but other than that, it's not a big deal. It's a game of millimeters, so it can, you know, it'll vary kind of a little bit, but it's really simple thing to do. It's not that big a deal. Like I said, it's just really important that you get the head of the screwdriver or the head of whatever the fuck piece you're using close to where the top of the tube is, because if you go down and you're trying to pry in the middle, it's not going to move, and you're going to get frustrated. And if you get frustrated, there's a good chance you can damage something because you're going to start being more forceful. So a lot of times, like a lot of the tricks when it comes to engine building is sometimes, and I fall victim to it all the time, where you start getting frustrated, you start getting aggravated. So once you start getting to that point where you're yelling, making those inhuman guttural noises and shit, it's usually time to chill out and just walk away for a couple hours, or walk away for the rest of the day and start the next day fresh. And then a lot of times what you were struggling on the day before will be easy when you tackle it when you're refreshed. So yeah, it's just some tips on that. And I mean, I guess I could you know, to show like the assembly for people who want to do the VTEC killer, it's not complicated. Like, it's not complicated at all. Like, you see how that rotates freely once the cap's in place. So this whole rocker arm assembly isn't bolted together. All of it is free floating. It's only bolted together once you have it on the head. So each one of these cam cap holders, they slide off. So you slide it off, and then the tube itself slides out of the rockers. Now you can either like skin it to where you're like you leave everything in one place, and then you leave the tube on there, and you just yank the tube. Once you get the main holder out of there, then you can just pull the tube out, and everything will fall in place behind it. Or you can just take off every individual rocker arm until you've broken it down all the way. Either way, it doesn't fucking matter. It's just whichever way you prefer. Yeah, so again, it will go to the same thing. Like when you're going to pull off the intake rockers, you just make sure all of the springs are out. When you're going to make the upgrade to the VTEC killer, you're going to have to take out... or no, you don't even have to. I didn't take out both sides. I left the original stock exhaust rockers on. You know, I didn't do it on this one yet. I wanted to leave this for the example for this video. I'm going to do it for the other one. But you leave the exhaust side on, and then you just pull out like the tube. And once you pull out the tube, they'll all drop free, right? And then you'll still have these cam cap holders in place from the exhaust side. So then you just take the new exhaust rockers, which are a lot easier to slide on because they're one piece. You just put that tube there, and then you start. I guess you would start on this side, and you just slide the bar in, put the next one, slide the bar in, put the next one, slide the bar in, put the next one, slide the bar in. Very, very simple, very direct. These are all one-piece rockers, so you can't fuck it up. There's no free moving parts on this style rocker arm. Now, if you use the drop-in friendly, just drop and go rocker arms, there is one moving piece, or there's two moving pieces on that. That's because this washer here that is kind of clipped into place for this exhaust rocker, on the ones that are just drop and go, they don't have the clips. It's a thin, free floating washer. So it gives you a washer on each side, so you have two more pieces in motion, but they're not side specific. So you just put it in there and go. Yeah, so that's it. That's the breakdown. Hopefully, that'll take a lot of your fear. It'll take all your fear away from the rotating or for the head assembly for these, because it's actually really simple. I like a lot of things about the K better than the D and the B. It's more moving parts for the head, so it's a little bit more of a pain in the ass. But because the head is designed the way it is, it makes I would say these are pretty easy to get to. You don't have to worry about smashing your fingers up. The only other one that for the valve springs would be easier, I guess, would be the single cam. So there's that. The only thing that I can say about long block assembly that I really, really don't like about the fucking K series, I guess I don't like it, but it is very beneficial for the power they make, is that, I don't like torquing the fucking head on. It's a pain in the ass. A lot of you guys wonder, talk about me working on engines barefooted. Well, there's two reasons why. One is because all my engine building recently has been inside the house, and I walk around in my house a lot, so it's kind of a shitty thing to have shoes on where I gotta kick off my shoes every time I want to go somewhere. I'm lazy, so I just rather not have them on. And then the other thing is because I use my feet like a monkey to grip. I use my toes to grip the bottom of the engine stand while I'm torquing things. Now, I always pull up the torque specs and shit when I'm doing everything, every single step, because no matter how much you think you memorize something, it's something that if it's part of the engine that requires torque, like legit requires torque, then you don't want to fuck that up. So I think the three steps for the K20 are 29 foot-pounds torque initially, and then a 90-degree turn and a 90-degree turn. Now, I haven't used brand new head bolts yet. I've always used ones. So I guess with a brand new set, they recommend a third 90-degree turn. That's a whole lot of torque. So the 29 foot-pound torque is easy as fuck, very simple and quick. The 90-degree turn, the first 90-degree turn is, of course, a bit harder, but not crazy. It's that third 90-degree turn that, or the second 90-degree turn, that is extremely difficult. And it fucking sucks, man. Especially when you got these giant-ass spark plug tubes that are in the fucking way. So yeah, that's the only thing I don't like about them. So I don't like about the torque is the head torque. All right. Other than that, I like everything. The cage's pretty enjoyable. All right, guys. So thanks for watching and peace.